Thought loops seem to be a pretty commonly known phenomenon, especially when it comes to hallucinogens. Despite this, there doesn't really seem to be that much research or documentation about them, so in this video I'm going to do my best to explain what they are and how you might get out of them. I feel like it's quite hard to word and accurately describe thought loops, so I'm going to take this definition straight from psychonautwiki.org. A thought loop is defined as the experience of becoming trapped within a chain of thoughts, actions, and emotions which repeats itself over and over again in a cyclic loop. These loops usually range from anywhere between 5 seconds and 2 minutes in length. However, some users have reported them to be up to a few hours. It can be extremely disorientating to undergo this effect, and it often triggers states of progressive anxiety within people who may be not familiar with the experience. Thought loops can be really scary because you feel almost like you're stuck in time and can't get out. But it's still really hard to truly comprehend what a thought loop actually is, so let's read a couple of posts by people who have experienced them and see how they describe it. This person describes it like there's some event that really intrigues you and confuses you, so you try to figure it out, you try to analyze it from every angle and figure out what's really happening, but you keep getting closer and closer, but right when you've almost figured it out, you realize that you've already been thinking the same thing before, and that you've just made a loop. So that feeling of actually making any real progress is sort of shattered. Rewatching that feels kind of like a mouthful of words where I don't really get a point across, and I've been sitting on this video for a long time because I think it's really hard to describe what a thought loop actually is, so I'm going to continue using comments as crutches. I think this person described it really well. They said that thought loops happen because your short-term memory shrinks to almost nothing. You get the same stimulus, you repeat the same thought processes, and you come to the same conclusion, and only after you arrive at that conclusion you realize that you've gone through the same exact thought pattern before. It makes you feel stuck, like you're thinking through something, but then you realize that you've already thought that. Someone else said it's like you're having constant deja vu, and I think an important thing worth mentioning here is that it seems in my research that I've found that it's a lot more common in people with ADHD, and that would make a lot of sense really because people with ADHD don't have as good of a working memory or a short-term memory, so it would make a lot more sense that you constantly forget what you're doing and get stuck into a loop. A lot of people that I've seen also seem to anecdotally say that it happens typically after they smoke weed while they're already tripping on some kind of hallucinogen because they can both sort of work together to amplify each other. Thought loops seem like a really interesting but also a very scary concept, and I'd like to see more formal research and information on it in the future because most of what I can find just kind of boils down to being anecdotal evidence of a couple people talking about it on Reddit. Alright, so now that we've established what a thought loop is, let's talk about how you might get out of one if you find yourself stuck. It seems like the general consensus on how to get out of a thought loop is to do a couple things. One of them is to listen to music. Another is just to change your environment and move to another spot. Another one is to change your activity and do something else so that you can kind of change your headspace. I also see a lot of people just saying to try not to overthink it and to try to calm down and just let yourself have fun, rather than just overthinking it and letting it get into your head. A lot of people recommend watching a movie or something, which I think is a great idea, but I think a lot of these tips really boil down to giving yourself a new stimulus so you distract yourself and don't think about it. The last tip that I found, and also my favorite one, is to just go get a drink of water. You'll change your environment, you'll be focused on a task, and you'll also be hydrated. And the credit for that one goes to my boy Deleted. Woo! Good old Reddit. I think that just about wraps up everything that I wanted to talk about today for thought loops. So I have a couple more videos planned that I'm pretty excited about, but I definitely have breaks and work pretty slowly, so thanks for bearing with me. If you're interested in those, I'd really appreciate it to subscribe. It helps me out a lot. So, as always, this is Bryce, signing off. I hope you have a wonderful night.